My sermonette today, the strength and faith of Abraham. The SPS is to show us that God strengthens the faithful. Father Abraham, he came from a society that was totally different to God and God's way. And when God called him, it was like a dream, because no one expected that Abram would be the type of person that God would call to do his will. From Abraham came the nation of Israel. But the nation of Israel suffered greatly over many years. They suffered for different reasons, but mainly because of disobedience to God. The Lord chose a simple people. They started as a small group. In fact, they started from one man who Jehovah called out of a pagan land to start a nation to be his chosen people. And God does that, doesn't he? God starts and picks people who are small and weak. And it says that God, the scriptures tell us that God chooses the weak to confound the mighty. And he picked this man who was not particularly strong, was not special. He was born in a pagan land known as Ur of the Chaldees, or Chaldeans, located in Mesopotamia, which today is in modern-day Iraq. Ur was a thriving city under the rule of the Babylonian dynasty. Abraham's lifestyle was pagan. Babylon, as great and as powerful as it was a pagan society. And the Lord called him out of paganism to be his representative to all men. And even when our Lord came, when Jesus Christ came, he came as a poor carpenter's son, and he was born in a manger. They didn't even have room for him at the inn. He was born in a manger. This is how God works. And there's one place where Jesus told the Pharisees, don't boast about being a son of Abraham, because if God wanted, he could raise up children from these rocks. The website webserver.sms.org describes the religion of the Chaldeans in this way. It says, in Chaldean mythology, men were created to serve the gods and die because the gods wanted their lives for their own keeping. And you notice gods. They had many gods. They made a god for just about everything. Gods like Apsu, the water god. Tiamat was a she-dragon which plotted against the gods. Enu was the lord of the heavens and the highest of the gods. Enlil, the lord of the hills. Enki, or Enkai, the ruler of the sweet waters. The most important person of the ancient Chaldean religion was Marduk, of course another invented character, and he was the son of Ea. I guess it's pronounced Ea, E-A. Ea championed the gods to follow the plot of Tiamat, the she-dragon, a plot which was to destroy the gods. He defeated and destroyed Tiamat. He also destroyed one called Kingu, and from his blood, he formed the first man and woman. Just to touch on where Abraham came from. Very strange people. Now God took him from that and he called him. And let's turn to Genesis, the 12th chapter. Genesis 12 and verse 1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, Get thee out of thy country, from thy kindred, from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show you. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you and make your name great. For you shall be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless you, and curse him that curses you. And in you shall all the families of the earth be blessed. All the families of the earth, including yours and mine, shall be blessed from this man. So Abram departed, as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. Lot was his brother's son, and Abraham was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. He took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran, and they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. And Abram passed through the land onto the place of Shechem, Sichem, onto the plain of Morah, and the Canaanites was in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. So that was Abraham's calling. Abraham, who the Lord said was his friend, could have believed and even practiced these strange religious rituals, because that was what he had been taught from his childhood. He did not know anything else. It was normal in that society to perform pagan practices and to worship many pagan gods. Secular history, however, claims that Abraham was very successful in his pagan environment. The Bible does not make this clear, but is said to have been an extremely rich land. He seemed to have acquired much material goods and was a man of influence. His father also seemed to have been a man of means. This being the case, one would immediately assume that he showed great faith in answering the Lord's call to live that life of success and comfort, by man's standards, of course. It is no wonder that he was referred to as a man of faith. He's known today as the father of the faithful, and we know that the Lord called him a friend. So Abram got his little group together and left for the promised land. He did not know where it was. He didn't know where he was going or how far. He only knew he was promised by God, the one true God, not Apsu or Anu or the other false gods, but the one true and living God who created all things without help. And when he got there, the Lord said to him, All this I will give to you. But the Lord did not say when, and Abraham did not ask. Abraham trusted and loved the Lord truly. He made his mistakes. He stumbled and fell along the way, but he always got up, dusted himself off, and continued on, keeping his eyes on the Lord, believing and trusting God. And as he got to know God better, he learned to love the Lord unconditionally. In spite of their troubles and suffering, the Jews always seemed to have a strain of believers who always stood firm. Sometimes there was just one or two who believed and stood for the Lord, but the few always seemed to have the ability to convince and motivate the rest of God's people. And as many times as they may have stepped out of line, there was always one there to get them back in line again. When most others would renounce the faith and turn away from the commands of God, these leaders would always come through. They would not allow ridicule or criticism to deter them from doing the will of God. And by the word leaders, I'm not referring only to those who are in charge. There are many cases in which those in the ranks refused to betray the Lord and his commands. They even sometimes set the pace for those in authority to follow. And we have a few examples of the type that I'm talking about. King David, 1 Samuel 17 and verse 10. 1 Samuel 17 and verse 10. It reads, "And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together." And they're referring here, of course, to Goliath. Goliath was a giant. He was bigger and stronger than most men, and he had no problems to knock off one of the Israelites if he did get a man to fight. Then in verse 31, it happened that David had visited the camp. He was a boy, a shepherd boy, taking care of his sheep, and he visited the camp to bring his brothers lunch. And he heard the words that were being spoken. And he wouldn't stand for that. He said, "No, this can't happen. I will fight him. I will take care of him." And when the words were heard in verse 31, which David spoke, they rehearsed them before Saul. They repeated them to Saul. And Saul sent for him. And David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine." David was not afraid. He was a young boy, but he stood up. And he faced that giant, having the confidence that his God will deliver him. And his God indeed did. Let's turn to Numbers. Numbers, the 14th chapter. And in verse 8.
And David spake to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine?
And that is quite true. Amen. Moses had chosen 12 to go into the land, search it out, and bring back a report. Bring back a report, tell us what's happening, how we should attack, when we should move in. And they all were afraid because when they got there, these Philistines were very big people. They were strong. They were fearsome. And 12 were sent. And 10 of them came back and said, we can't do it. We cannot do it. We can't fight these people. Let us forget about that. But two said no. And they spake unto all the company of the children of Israel, saying, the land which we passed through to search it is an exceeding good land. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which flows with milk and honey. Only rebel not against the Lord, neither fear the people. Joshua is saying, if the Lord gives us this, he promised us this, we'll be okay. Let's do it. He said, do not fear the people of the land, for they are bread for us. Their defense is departed from them, and the Lord is with us. Fear them not. And in verse 10, but all the congregation bade stone them with stones, and the glory of the Lord appeared in the tabernacle of the congregation before all the children of Israel. The Lord appeared and showed that those who stand up for him, he will support. Then we had other examples like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who refused to worship Nebuchadnezzar and his statue that he had built. They said, no, if we must die, we must die. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. We don't even have to think. We know what we're going to say, and this is the answer. If it be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thy hand, O king. Daniel, the 3rd chapter, and verse 18. But if not, be it known unto you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the golden image which thou hast set. Then was Nebuchadnezzar full of fury, and the form of his visage was changed against Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Therefore he spake and commanded that they should heat the furnace 7 times hotter than it had been. We know the story. They were put into the furnace, and God delivered them. As a matter of fact, Jesus himself came. Jesus himself came and delivered them. And this is how God works. And this little message is just to give us the hope and the strength to carry on when things look dark. We will trust in God.